Are you ready to rally? I can't hear you. I said you reporting from quarantine in your house in front of your laptop. Are you ready to rally? Are you ready to throw blind fanatical support around a candidate who makes promises and maybe delivers on half of them? Are you ready to project all your hopes and dreams onto what I will convince you that I am? Are you ready for me to stop screaming at this volume from the side of my computer? Well then please, give it up for your favorite and forever public servant, Kristina Wong.
Bravo.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. You know, I could have had today's rally on tour where it was scheduled in Hawaii or New England, where I was supposed to actually be this week. But I was like, you know what? No, thanks. Give me an audience that had to crawl up from bed, sit upright at their desk at home, put their kids in the other room during a global pandemic because they are the rowdiest runs. Am I right, America? Now, some of you may know me as Kristina Wong, the performance artist. Some of you have no idea who I am because I am a performance artist. What you are witnessing now started 3 years ago as a purely performative campaign where I rallied for a political seat that I had not even filed to run for. I did things like debate a dog. It's a very cute dog. I won both debates. It was a poodle mix. Meet and greets on Hollywood Boulevard with an actual political puppet. I even did focus groups with voters to see if they would notice when I plagiarized speaking points from political dictators throughout history. Fun fact, most voters think that Stalin is a quirky guy with a big vision. But after 3 years of those shenanigans, I come here rallying to you tonight as a performance artist turned real life politician. I may have never grabbed anyone by their genitals without their permission. I may not be able to get us into war with Iran or a dead senator war hero or with windmills. I may have never paid off a porn star. In fact, I may have never paid for porn. But despite all those shortcomings, I was able to prove to my constituents that I have what it takes to serve in public office. Last April, with 71 votes, if you do not count the vote that I cast for myself, I became the real life elected official of Subdistrict 5, Wilshire Center, Koreatown Neighborhood Council. And now I am a performance artist turned politician. COVID hit in the middle of a tour I did in Sacramento. I was at a community college 2 hours 30 minutes before the show ended. All the students got a text on the phone saying that the campus was going online the next day. I had no income lined up. This whole national tour I had set up, postponed. I was like, there's no way I could do this rally from my house. People were like, just stream it online. I'm like, you do not understand that theater, like teaching, it's not the same thing online. But lo and behold, here I am. I have an election themed show. Was inspired by my director, Diana, who also has transferred her show online. And this is my home. This is a rally I do in my house. This is how this is my Steadicam, which is basically, can you see this as an office chair with 2 Tupperwares on it. So I put this on this chair and I in lieu of a light change that might happen in theater, I'm like, I do different scenes of the show in my house. I tell different stories. I tell a story about how I ended up on a ballot because I got so high, basically, that I was seeing things. I got really high one night, and then when I came out from being so super high, I woke up on a ballot, right? So I basically had to adapt this one person show for a rowdy audience in my actual home. It's become quite intimate. I feel I did lose some engagements because those theaters basically couldn't stay afloat. And it's often said in the arts community that universities and colleges are the largest patrons of living artists that there are, whether that means giving artists work as professors or presenting artists at schools to students. So those venues have been the ones that have been able to honor contracts that we were negotiating at the time or bring me. And I have a little bit of an advantage in being able to present my shows online in that it's timely, it's election themed, right? It's one person addressing the camera. So if I was in a situation where I was running a 10-person dance company, I'd obviously have a much harder time translating that online. But that's, so I'm basically living on top of my on top of my set. My bedroom is over there. My fireplace used to be there. What can I say of this? So it's been a little bit of a nightmare, but at this point, I feel like the content of the show is so important. I spent 3 years running for office as research for the show, creating this show, and it's so important that folks vote. So I got an article that there was a shortage of cloth face masks for nurses, doctors, and essential workers. And I was like, oh, I sew. I have something essential I do. And long story short, and like 5 months, 6 months later, I still run a group called the Auntie Sewing Squad. A lot of us are artists who have no income, who lives have been turned upside down by this, but we know how to sew. These are skills that maybe we've used to sew costumes or set pieces, and now we're making medical equipment. Why are we still sewing 6 months later when there are now cheap masks all over the street and flooded the market? Well, as it turns out, something called structural racism has made it possible for many communities to not even be able to access very cheap masks. So at this point, we are no longer making masks for hospitals and frontline workers in big cities who make salaries, but we're making masks for Indigenous communities. What has been so great about our Auntie Sewing Squad community is that we were all strangers to each other. We organized on a Facebook group. My own mother sews in the group. She's in San Francisco. We're all over the country, and we've become like a family of folks who work together to identify where the most vulnerable communities are, and make and not in such a way like offering charity, but offering a sort of solidarity offerings that acknowledge their work, their labor, their own sovereignty, these communities, and supporting them with masks and protection.